Don't you want it? 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 You lose your little mind. 5 Deadlights.
Hello.
Welcome to the Deadlights podcast, Mini. I'm your host, Sam.
And I'm no Mini Leslie.
No, Mini Ledley.
No Mini Leslie.
Bringing you your little Minisode for the week.
Absolutely.
You need another one. You can't get enough of us.
No, absolutely not.
I can't.
I feel like I bring more of my personality these little mini-sodes. I'm trying to get more used to being on camera. Even though we did it for all of October.
Yeah. I felt like by the end of October we were like pretty... Even actually after the first week, I felt like we were all like getting pretty comfortable being in the space, watching films, talking about them too. There's just definitely a little bit of a learning curve there, and still is, obviously. We're still trying to figure this stuff out.
And it's mostly, I think I hold back a little bit because I don't want to scare people. This is our first time meeting. So I definitely do not want to scare anybody away. I want them to keep coming back.
Well, I think that you should just be yourself, Leslie, because that'll keep bringing people back.
Okay.
That'll keep doing it. Don't worry.
Okay.
And if this is your first time meeting Leslie, this is all her.
This is authentically me.
And I'm authentically me.
You are.
Yes.
Yes.
Here we go. So today, and that's kind of the point of the minisodes, it's just like to have fun.
Absolutely.
And just like talk about things that we probably are already talking about anyway that are just off the podcast.
Yeah. And we're like, oh, we need to have this conversation and record it.
Yeah.
Because this is content that will help, oh my goodness, excuse me, our viewers just get to know us and know why we're even covering horror, to begin with.
And it's a genre and something that obviously we like to talk about. So we get to record more of these things. Let's do it.
It's just recording. Also, I don't have a lot of people in my life that have liked horror. And it's been like, I've always felt like an outcast in that sense, because if there's a horror movie coming out in theaters, nobody wants to go and see it with me. And I have the confidence to go and see it by myself, but it's always just a lot more fun with people.
Well, and especially horror. I feel like it's like a very... I mean, I love the genre for so many reasons, but the communal aspect of it, I think, is so fun. Mm-hmm. And you're right. Like, for so long, I felt, too, like, does anyone else like this genre? Am I by myself?
Am I just a weirdo?
Am I weird for liking this? And I would hope that anyone watching this podcast or other horror movies to see this and feel like, no, there is a community for this.
There's a huge community.
Massive community that's looking at these things as not just horror movies, like as films. And this is our passion. You know, this is something that we are passionate about. Yeah. If you're passionate about it, you're not alone, because we're here.
And even though if you were to see me in person, I mean, I guess you are seeing me.
A 2D image of you in person. Me. Yes.
But those that know me, I don't think they fully understand why I like the horrible things that I like, because I present myself in a very colorful and outgoing way. Mm-hmm. So you can't really judge a book by its cover, because we all have different tastes.
Yeah.
Like, I listen to true crime, horrible stories 24/7. And that's all I like plug myself into.
Yeah.
And nobody else understands. And that's okay.
And that's fine. That's totally cool.
That's my jam.
It's your jam. It's your form of escapism, whatever you need to unwind or whatever you find even interesting or whatever.
I hear it when I'm cooking. I hear it when I'm getting ready to go to work. Dog walking. Like, those are the places where I hear this shit.
Yeah. And, I mean, because I'm a huge fan of true crime as well. I think there's a nice intersection of probably horror and true crime fans because it's kind of about the extremisms of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing too, where I was like, does anyone else listen to true crime? Like, is this weird or whatever? But there's also, it's such a massive, massive community of people that do listen to true crime.
Oh my God.
Huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But, like, where are the people that listen to it?
I know, it's funny because it's like, I know that there's a massive audience, but why aren't I meeting those people?
Yeah.
Where are they?
I think I've only come across a few people. And you're like one of them, and now we're doing this.
Exactly. Because we're like, oh, another person.
Like, hey,
what's up?
Hey,
let's watch this.
Do you want to talk about things?
Should we watch this?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, too, that you bring up the whole, like, because you are, I mean, obviously, burp. You are obviously, like, a bubbly, outgoing, super genuinely nice person.
Thank you.
And I think when people meet me too, like I'm also very, outgoing and genuine with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And people are surprised when they hear that I love horror movies and that's, the film genre that I'm passionate about. Because they're like, really? Like, why
and
you?
Then, yeah.
I'm like, why not me?
And then it's also like a gendered thing too. It's like, oh, you like horror because you're a boy.
True.
Like, but why do you like horror? You must be fucked up in the head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like this. I don't know why there's this. Well, I guess it's just like the common media that how horror is portrayed. People are going to have their certain assumptions of what a horror fan looks like.
Yeah,
and it's interesting that you bring it up because I was serving a table. We're servers, by the way, learning more about us.
Mm-hmm. We work together too
at the same restaurant, so we talk about this there too. But anyway,
absolutely.
I was serving a table and I just being myself, being very laid back and nice and whatever. And they asked me about my tattoo, which is all horror movies. Why did you get horror movies tattooed on your body? I was like, because I love horror movies.
Because I don't like them, and I just wanted to remind myself.
And their immediate response was, "Oh, you don't seem like that kind of person." And I was like, and at the moment, I was just like kind of joking. I was like, I know, like I know I don't seem like the horror scary fan, whatever. But thinking back on it, it's kind of like, well, what do you think the common horror fan
Long,
is?
Greasy hair.
Yeah.
Gauges. Piercings.
Yeah, like. Oh,
all over your face.
You look scary.
Yeah.
Because I don't look scary. I can't like the genre or...
I don't know. You look pretty scary to me.
I know I'm intimidating a lot of the time. But, yeah, no, it's just... It is really interesting the common conception or the common image that people put on who likes horror. And then when you tell people that you like it, there's this immediate judgment. Of
you're crazy.
Oh, you like that? You like that?
You like that?
It's like,
well, why do you like rom-coms? You know?
Right, yeah.
You don't look like the person that likes rom-coms. What the fuck is that? Like,
well, and I'm not going around if someone tells me like I love rom-coms, I'm not being like, "Oh, you like that?" That. Yeah. There's no other genre where someone can say it and people will be like, oh, that?
Yeah. Yeah, horror just has such a fucking, like,
a stigma.
A stigma.
Yeah.
I was going to say stigmatism, but that is eyeballs.
That's eyeballs. And stigmata I was thinking too, but that's Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, Jesus sometimes comes up in these things, but...
That's horrifying.
He never
But yeah, you're right. It has a massive stigma attached to it.
Absolutely.
Brought on by, I want to mainly blame just how the media has portrayed it. And I don't know if that comes from... I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if it's Hollywood just doesn't like horror movies. And so they don't... You're not seeing them pushed in the mainstream. Or if it's whatever people are controlling, like the marketing. You know, because
I think it's all of it.
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that Hollywood can't sell a horror film that's going to make them billions and billions of dollars the way that Marvel does. You know?
True.
That's Marvel is a family-centered movie, therefore everybody around the world can see it, and there is little to no regulations on what can be portrayed in these movies. When it comes to horror films, you can't globalize that shit. You can't market it for the whole world because there's certain just why does the word advisory is coming up? Like there's so many things that are censored, that are okay in some places and then others are not. So yeah, to them it's like, oh, you want to make another horror movie that isn't gonna fucking sell and make me trillions of money.
Yeah.
But also I think they don't want to push this agenda of if fucked up movies are being made, then therefore fucked up people are being created because these people are seeing them. Especially a lot with the psychological films and slasher films and Saws and like all those gory films. I mean, if you are surrounding yourself with this consumption, like, who are you? Type of question, like, it's very, like, then becomes philosophical in that sense. So,
well, and it's
I think it's a mix of things.
Sure. And I think you're right. I think that it's also very easy to point at the genre and say, look at that, how bad that is, because there's blood and there's, death. And these are easy things for us to grab onto to associate with something that is bad. But there are things in other genres that should be scary too. Like I think about like family, like a drama movie, like family dysfunction, like these like horribly like mentally abusive, like these stories about mentally abusive families and partners and all this kind of stuff. That's not in the horror genre, but that is within like the drama genre. But that is something that's horrifying, like domestic violence and domestic abuse and mental abuse. But that can be put into a different genre and presented in a different way that isn't part of something that people have put on this thing that is inherently bad, horror, But I mean, horror obviously explores those things. It obviously explores those things, but
they're more open about those situations. For me, the reason why I can't appreciate a rom-com, I mean, there's only maybe like a few that I like, but I can't really dig into this genre because of the way that women are presented and how they are like, they need a lover and it needs to be a man and this man is perfect and like he is coming to save her, and it's like this story that just like for me does not resonate because I'm not that type of person. And I get it, like it is a beautiful story for those that really enjoy those things, and that is what they want from life. But then it like leaves some of these women really in this like mindset of like then waiting and waiting instead of them taking action for their own life. They are just kind of being told by this genre, this form of media they consume, that everything is kind of like a fairy tale and they have to wait for their Prince Charming, and I think that's just bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too because that I understand why people would watch that though, because it's easy. Like having a story where guy meets girl, girl meets guy, they fall in love, they break up, they get back. That's easy. That's like popcorn. It's just easy to consume, and you don't have to think too much about it. I think that's also part of the appeal of some of these movies is people don't want to have to think too hard, And
True.
a story like that is, you know what's going to happen. You don't have to look into it this hard. Whereas a story about, you know, someone eating somebody else because they're having these weird desires or whatever, that's harder to digest. And it just takes a little more work for you to understand or empathize or sympathize with the characters in this world. So I think people just immediately just put it away because they're like, I don't even want to try to put myself in that position. I would rather just go to the story that I know what's going to happen and I can just let my mind escape.
I guess so, yeah. And I get it. Everybody needs their own different things, so we're not trying to, like, shame anybody for the genres that they watch. But it's just this is the reason why I gravitate towards horror. I want to be challenged. I want to see something that is going to have me think about it. And, I mean, I don't know why. It's just like, it's something that I've always loved. Also, I eat my popcorn with jalapeno.
Delish.
I want something spicy.
Well, there you go.
Give me something that's not just going to be easy for me to consume.
Yeah.
It's going to fight back a little bit. In more ways than one. But,
I think that also just goes back to the idea of why films are important in the first place. And we say it all the time on the podcast of, like, everyone views these movies very personally and subjectively, and that's the point of movies. You know, like, I don't, and art in general, in my opinion, is to each get our own personal experience out of what we're consuming.
Make a lot of noise in this chair.
Getting your own thing out of what you're personally experiencing, and it's okay if what you like isn't what I like, and what I like isn't what you like. You know, and that's the fun of it. That's why we have these discussions.
Yeah.
And why we're able to talk about these things for so long, because of personal preference.
Yeah, but I'm also open. Like,
exactly.
I mean, I'm open in the sense that in this specific genre, there are so many avenues, and I haven't explored some of them because I've been too afraid, because I'm like, oh, that's stepping over some boundaries that I don't know if I'm ready to do, and I've had to do in the 31 Days of Horror because I wanted to challenge myself, and I love doing that. I love just pushing myself, and it hasn't been bad. It has not been bad,
and that goes back to, that's the experience that you're looking for.
Yeah.
That's the experience that I'm looking for, too. Some people are just looking to click off and just escape into something easy, which is fine.
If I want to escape, I see cartoons.
Sure.
I'm too different, quite the opposite. I watch cartoons because I adore them, and I think voice actors are not recognized enough. And then horror and true crime.
Yeah.
Like, I have two opposite minds.
You need those two things for whatever reason you need those two things.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Well, yeah, like, if I want to turn off, I will put on a cartoon.
Yeah.
And I truly do fall asleep. And I turn off.
I gotta say, my sleepy time show, when I'm like, all right, I'm putting this on so I can go to sleep, is Forensic Files. It's actually Forensic Files.
Really?
And it's more about the guy's voice that narrates it. He's like, this person was 28 years old. It's like very monotone.
Put me to bed.
And I'm just like, yeah, so I'm going to sleep hearing just like the worst shit ever. But for some reason, that's just the thing that we just all got to figure out how to do the best for us. You know?
Absolutely.
You know, that's okay. Well, this minisode kind of turned into something else that I wasn't really expecting.
I had a question, but that's fine.
That's okay.
We'll save it for next time.
Save it for next time, because this was a nice little minisode too.
Yeah.
And check out Playground Social, which is the studio that we are always recording this at. But until the next little minisode, let's get mini spooky.
Little mini spooky.
We are very large.